What if behind the dazzling spotlight and roaring crowds, there was a moment so raw, so human, that it forever changed the way we see a legend? A moment when Michael Jackson, the king of pop, stepped beyond fame and spectacle to touch a fragile life, and in doing so, transformed his own heart. This is the untold story of Emma Rodriguez, a little girl whose courage and dream brought a miracle to Wembley Stadium and beyond. Behind the glittering lights and thunderous applause of a sold-out Wembley Stadium on July 16, 1988, there was a story few ever knew. A story not about the king of pop's flawless moves or chart-topping hits, but about a fragile little girl whose courage and hope illuminated the night in a way no spotlight ever could. That summer evening, more than 65,000 fans gathered under the iconic Wembley Dome in London, their voices rising in unison as Michael Jackson performed the final concert of the European leg of his Bad World Tour. The air was electric with excitement as the king of pop delivered hit after hit. Smooth Criminal, Beat It, Rock With You. Each song met with thunderous cheers, yet, amid the spectacle and frenzy, something extraordinary was about to unfold. A moment that would transcend music and fame, reaching deep into the heart of humanity. In a special access section just 20 feet from the stage sat Emma Rodriguez, a frail 9-year-old girl whose story was unknown to the thousands around her. Emma was no ordinary fan. She was a tiny warrior battling an aggressive brain tumor that had been growing relentlessly for 8 months. Her doctors in Madrid had given a grim prognosis, less than 2 weeks to live. But Emma had one last wish, a dream she clung to with all her might. "Before I go to heaven, Mama," she whispered softly 3 days before the concert, her voice barely audible beneath the oxygen mask. "I want to dance with Michael. I want to show him my moonwalk." Her parents, Maria and Carlos, faced the hardest decision of their lives. They took Emma out of the hospital, determined to make her final dream come true. Carlos, a humble construction worker who had never asked for favors before, knocked on every door, called in every connection, and spent the family's savings to secure 3 rare access passes. Not backstage, but close enough for Emma to see her hero clearly. That evening, as the London sun dipped below the horizon, Carlos carried Emma on his back from their hotel to Wembley. She wore her favorite Michael Jackson t-shirt, adorned with a sparkling sequined glove, her eyes shining with joy despite her weakness. For Emma, this was more than a concert. It was a moment of pure magic. For the first 90 minutes, Emma sang along with every song, her small voice lost in the sea of sound but her joy unmistakable. Maria watched anxiously, often checking her daughter's pulse, terrified her heart might give out. But Emma was alive in a way she hadn't been for months. "This is the best night of my life, Mama," she whispered, her eyes sparkling like stars. Then came the opening beats of Billie Jean. Emma's face lit up. This was her song, the one she had practiced moonwalking to in hospital corridors when she could barely stand. Michael appeared on stage, rising from beneath the platform like a celestial being, his sequined jacket shimmering under the lights. The crowd erupted in screams as he moved with supernatural grace, gliding and spinning, defying gravity. But suddenly a piercing scream cut through the night, louder and more desperate than any fan's cheer. It was Maria's voice, trembling with urgency. "Michael, please, my daughter is dying. She loves you." Michael froze mid-spin, his sequined gloves suspended in the air. The band faltered, the rhythm slowing. Silence rippled through the stadium. All 65,000 eyes turned toward a mother holding up her fragile child for the king of pop to see. From that moment, the concert transformed. It was no longer just a show. It became a hymn to humanity. The roaring crowd fell into a hush, leaving only the pounding hearts of those present. Maria, tears streaming, lifted Emma as high as she could under the blinding stage lights. The little girl, weak and fragile, became visible to all. Her eyes burned with a fierce light, desperate to hold on to life's last precious moments. "Michael, this is my daughter," Maria cried out, her voice breaking. "She only has days left. Please, let her dance with you. Just this once." The stadium held its breath. The cheers and screams vanished, replaced by a profound silence. Michael stepped to the edge of the stage, the spotlight revealing his face. First, confusion, then a deep well of emotion. His voice trembled as he spoke into the microphone. "Ma'am, what did you just say?" Maria raised Emma higher, tears flowing freely. "Her name is Emma. She's 9 years old. She has terminal brain cancer. The doctors say she has maybe a week. All she's ever dreamed of is to see you and to dance the moonwalk with you." Michael's eyes locked on the little girl, her gaze clear and pure, filled with longing. Then, a small fragile voice broke through the silence. "I'm Emma Rodriguez. I love you, Michael. I want to dance with you." The words struck Michael like a blow to the chest. He froze, took a deep breath, and signaled his band to stop with a hand gesture across his throat. Wembley fell into complete silence. Turning back to the crowd, his voice shaking, Michael said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to be patient with me. Something is happening here tonight that is far more important than any show." The audience listened intently as Michael's security escorted the Rodriguez family through a private passage to the stage. Maria staggered under the weight of emotion, Carlos's rough hands trembling as he held his wife's shoulders, and Emma, carried by her father, whispered weakly, "Mama, are we really going to meet him?" Maria, choking back sobs, whispered, "Yes, my love, we're going to meet him." Then came a moment forever etched in history. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, walked onto the stage carrying Emma in his arms. The lights converged on them. The crowd of 65,000 held their breath. "Ladies and gentlemen," Michael said, his voice cracking, "I want you to meet my friend Emma Rodriguez. She's only 9, but she's been fighting a battle braver than any of us." The stadium erupted, not in wild cheers, but in reverent applause, like a prayer shared by thousands. Emma, trembling, stood beside Michael, who knelt down and clasped her tiny icy hand. "Emma has been practicing her moonwalk for years," Michael announced, his voice quivering. "Do you want to see it?" The roar that followed was deafening, but filled with love, encouragement, and strength. Then the miracle began. Emma, frail and unsteady, stepped into her moonwalk beside Michael on the Wembley stage. It was a dance against death, a hymn to life itself. The stage lights flooded the stadium. Michael took a few steps back, his hand resting firmly on Emma's shoulder, ready to steady her at any moment. Before them, 65,000 fans held their breath, eyes locked on the tiny, trembling feet trying to move. The music had stopped. No drums, no guitars, only the sound of hearts pounding as a fragile child attempted a legendary dance. Emma slid one shaky step backward. Her legs nearly gave out. The entire stadium gasped, but Michael's hand caught her, lifting her upright. "Come on, Emma," he whispered quietly. The microphone carried his words across the London night. And then, as if by miracle, Emma took another step, and another. Hesitant, clumsy, but it was a moonwalk, real and defiant. Applause erupted, not deafening, but tender. The strangest sound Wembley had ever known. Not screams of idol worship, but a collective prayer urging a frail little soul to keep fighting. Michael and Emma moved together. His feet glided effortlessly. Hers stumbled but followed. At moments she nearly collapsed, yet her eyes glowed, her lips curled into the faintest smile. In that instant, death seemed powerless. Life had won, if only for a moment. When the final moonwalk step ended, Michael knelt beside Emma, his hand over her shoulder, his eyes glistening red. Wembley exploded, not in frenzy but in tear-stained applause. Thousands wept openly, clinging to each other in disbelief. Michael sat at the piano, pulling Emma close. He nodded to his band, and, "Billy," Jean began again, slower, softer, transformed into a lullaby. "This one," Michael said gently, "is for Emma." His voice filled the stadium, aching and raw. Then, impossibly, Emma's faint, trembling voice joined him. Fragile, but pure. It blended with Michael's, creating a duet that pierced every heart present. The miracle deepened. Slowly, from the farthest seats to the front rows, the audience began to sing along, not loudly, not wildly, but softly, reverently, like a sacred hymn. 65,000 voices wove together into a gentle cradle song for a dying child. As the song faded, Michael leaned down and whispered into Emma's ear. No one heard his words, but everyone saw the smile bloom across her face. The first true smile in weeks. Maria and Carlos clung to each other at the stage's edge, tears streaming endlessly. "Emma," Michael said into the microphone, his voice breaking, "you've made tonight the most special night of my entire career. Thank you for being here." Emma nodded weakly. Then, suddenly, she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small friendship bracelet woven from colored string. With trembling fingers, she tied it around Michael's wrist. "So you'll remember me when I'm in heaven," she said. Michael broke down, sobbing right there on stage. Tears glistened on his sequined glove, falling to the floor as 65,000 souls cried with him. That night, every song that followed, Michael sang with the bracelet shining on his wrist, as if Emma had become part of his very heart. As the stage lights dimmed, the final echoes of that legendary night lingered in the hearts of 65.